U.S. Army Major Harrison Mann was on the back end of a 13-year career in the U.S. military, working in the Middle East Bureau of the Defense Intelligence Agency when he decided he had had enough. He had seen enough. As Israel's large-scale military response ramped up in the wake of October 7th and his workplace became more and more focused on the war, Mann said it was hard to separate his day-to-day work from the horrifying images coming out of Gaza that he had seen in the news. So on November 1st of last year, Mann, who is Jewish, became the first member of the Army to resign in protest of America's role in the war in Gaza. His resignation became effective this past Monday. He wrote in his resignation letter that the U.S. government's, quote, unqualified support of Israel has, quote, enabled and empowered the killing and starvation of tens of thousands of innocent Palestinians, end quote. He went on to say, quote, each of us signed up to serve, knowing we might have to support policies we weren't fully convinced of. However, at some point, it became difficult to defend the outcomes of this particular policy. At some point, whatever the justification, you're either advancing a policy that enables the mass starvation of children, or you're not, end quote. Joining me now is Major Harrison Mann himself, former executive director for the Defense Intelligence Agency. Major, thank you for being us. We appreciate your time. I want to ask you, when I tweeted out that you were going to be on the show, someone said, why didn't he just talk to the president first? I'm assuming it's as hard for you to just talk to the president as it is for me to just talk to the president. But what is the process when somebody like you, who's serving in the military, who finds that they are a conscientious objector to something that's going on? What is the process and how did it unfold for you?
Yeah, thank you for having me. And first, I'd like to clarify, I am not a conscientious objector, because that means you object to all war in all of its forms, which I do not. But I did object to the way that this war was being conducted and the way that we, by which I mean the Department of Defense and then both my own office, were supporting the Israeli military as they conducted this war. And so the options for somebody in my position, especially in the uniformed military, are limited. You can kind of voice your concerns, but no one's under any obligation to do anything about them, or you can resign. I chose to do the latter. I did not feel comfortable talking about, how I felt about the war while I was in the office. As I wrote, I didn't know that anybody else agreed with me. I later discovered that many people did, but I didn't think that was something that I could talk about. And additionally, while I was resigning, I was also aware of higher level discussions in the intel defense world about, how seriously we were going to take legal concerns about our contribution to the Israeli campaign. And those did not give me confidence that had I chosen to try voicing my concerns and sending those up the chain of command, that I would have been listened to in a serious way.
Major, you're Jewish. Your grandparents escaped anti-Semitism in Eastern Europe. We're in a world of rising anti-Semitism. Last weekend, I spoke with Lindsey Greenberg-Call, who resigned from the Interior Department for similar reasons. I want to play for you what she said about how her Jewish identity played into her decision.
I don't want to leave my Jewishness at the door when it comes to thinking about Israel. Like, it goes against all the Jewish values I was raised with, to kill people, to starve them, to make people refugees.
That was Lily Greenberg-Call. I want to ask you the same question. Did you have to confront that? Did you have to deal with that? Do people ask you about that?
Yeah, I mean, that understanding my family's history and the history of a lot of Jews who came from Europe made this a really easy decision and made the moral logic really hard to avoid, because, I was raised with my family history, with understanding that the Jews in Europe suffered, really incredible mistreatment and crimes over hundreds of years. And, from a young age, you understand that's wrong. What happened to the Jews in Europe, in Russia, was wrong. And so when I saw what was happening to the Palestinians now, it was pretty easy to make that connection. And, it didn't take me a long time to understand that was wrong too.
How do these resignations, I mean, there are various protests in the country, there are various resignations, there's pressure, there's the votes that go on. We saw in Michigan and Wisconsin where people went out to vote and told, Joe Biden, I'm in a Democratic primary, I'm supporting you, I'm supporting the Democrats, I'm coming out and doing my job, but I'm protesting your policies in Gaza. How do these small acts all add up? Do you think that they make a difference? Do you think that the government hears it? Do you think the administration thinks about it and perhaps recalibrates their strategy?
I know that they matter. I can't speak to what the administration notices, but I know at very least they matter to other people in our position who also feel like they're involved in something wrong and are also looking for a way out or looking for a way to take action. It mattered to me when I was making this decision to know that there were already, I think when I started my process, Josh Paul was the first to resign. And then over the coming months, more people resigned. So that gave me confidence that what I was doing was the right thing and that what I was doing, at very least, would bring some attention to this issue. And I can say, my resignation and the way I communicated it personally had an impact on my workplace at DIA, because we went from an environment where people were not comfortable openly discussing their concerns about how Israel was conducting the war or how we were supporting them as they conducted the war, and I know now that folks are now openly talking about this in a way that they were not before. So I consider that progress at the very least, both in terms of, our national security workforce feeling comfortable kind of pursuing their moral instincts more. And it also makes them more effective, analysts and intelligence producers if they do not feel like any topics are off limit and they don't feel like their speech is going to be stifled.
I want to end by reading just a little bit from your resignation letter. Quote, "The hardest part of the past 6 months was feeling totally alone, like I was the only one disturbed by the footage from Gaza. I felt like I was living in an alternate universe. I now realize the obvious. If I was afraid to voice my concerns, you were too." Major Harrison Mann, thank you for your time today. I appreciate you joining us.
Thank you so much.
Harrison Mann is a former official with the United States Defense Intelligence Agency.